Crazy fact about this Auburn coaching staff that should pay huge dividends for 2025.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we're ready to get after it. Happy Wednesday. A crazy fact about this Auburn coaching staff that I didn't realize until just last evening. Auburn's retaining both coordinators for the first time since 2018. We're going to talk about why continuity is so important in an age where there is no continuity, when it's constant turnover, and how this could affect the young guys coming back another year in the same system, the learning curve, not having to have much of one, and all of the, the promise and the, I guess just starting to build a little bit of hope into the 2025 season. We'll talk about all that in just a second. But before we get there, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn25 if you love salsa, but you don't want to go to the restaurant to get it. Get that restaurant quality salsa with a little southern kick. You need to check out Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. You can go to any Publix across the state of Alabama, any grocery store just about in the Auburn area, Kroger, both Krogers, Ace Hardware, anywhere you can turn around, you can find Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, and you can support an Auburn family. An Auburn family, locally made, almost 100% product, no additives, no preservatives, and it's just a great taste as well. They got mild, they got spicy. You can find both online. Definitely check them out. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. Yeah, crazy fact. I had no idea. I saw Jason Caldwell put this out last night, and that was the first place I saw it. So shout out to Jason Caldwell for sharing that information. But Auburn's retaining both offense and defensive coordinators for the first time since 2018. Auburn's been in a state of flux for a while. If you really, really think about it, it's been much more than just the past, few years. It's been multiple. I mean, it's been a long period of time where Auburn has – how many times has Auburn gone a year at a time with a coordinator? How many times has Auburn gone on both sides of the ball over the last decade? It just seems like it just keeps happening. You can't really build any – I mean, you look at Kevin Steele's probably the only bright spot. I say only. It's one of the bright spots that you can look at over the past 10 years, spending multiple years at Auburn, and look at the results he had. He was beloved almost to the point where he became the head coach. Continuity matters. I feel like some of the top, you see some of your better programs when they make runs. A lot of times it's when they retain coordinators for extended period of times. And another thing that it helps, not only does it help, with learning curves and easing transitions and development, but think about the NIL era. Think about the transfer portal era. How easy it is to jump from place to place for the players. Man, it means a lot if you know that you're leaving the guy that you're leaving someone that's going to be there for multiple years. It's maybe a little bit tougher. And I like the idea of going to play for, make a little bit more money. But man, I had so much success with DJ Durkin. I had so much success in this system. I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if I want to go, even if I can make a little bit more money. Continuity is huge. And Auburn finally, even with the turmoil around the results from the first two seasons, Auburn seems to be building a little bit of continuity. And I think continuity matters. I think continuity matters, and that's going to be the theme. That's been the theme over the last couple of weeks. You got the retention of DJ Durkin, the retention when he could have gone elsewhere, the retention of Kenyatta Watson when he couldn't have gone elsewhere, your retention of players when they could have gone elsewhere. Just seems to be something brewing a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm bugging, but it seems to be that there could be something brewing here at Auburn. You got DJ Durkin. We've talked about it, and I don't have to go too much in detail, but just retaining him for another year is incredibly important on so many levels. I mean, he gets here, and he's playing with tons of young guys, and we give up less points and less yards per game than the year prior in one offseason, while playing tons and tons and tons of freshmen at key positions, in key moments, in key games, and making them household names. Now, guess what? You get to run it back with those same guys with another year in the same system, doing the same things, same terminology. There's going to be less thinking and more just reacting, more execution. Even at times when, I mean, it's hard to point to a lot of times last year where you feel like, oh man, that's just a freshman mistake, or oh, that's just a learning the system mistake because of how well they played. Now you have one more year where it's just nothing but we're going to take everything we learned last year and we're just going to build on it. Defensive communication, adjustments, all of those things. You don't have to throw those out the window and start all over again. You just kind of keep going, keep rolling. I think that's huge, and you saw that again. I go back to Kevin Steele. You saw how that defense just kind of they were always the bright spot. The defense was always the bright spot even when the offense struggled, because same guy, same terminology, continuing to build off of that system every single year, same guy. And I think anytime you can do that, it's invaluable. Anytime that you can retain somebody, and especially at a coordinator position, and kind of especially one that's successful, and keep going. And that's another thing. You're not retaining a lot of folks that nobody wants. You're retaining folks that, Derrick Nix could have been a head coach. We'll talk about Derrick Nix in just a second. DJ Durkin could have been the defensive coordinator for the national champions. You're retaining good coaches. You're retaining good coaches for more years than just one, and I think that's huge. DJ Durkin is definitely huge. I mean, Derrick Nix. Look, it's no secret that from a play calling standpoint, Hugh Freeze is running the show. I mean, that's his thing. Hugh Freeze is going to run the show, probably henceforth, as far as play calling goes. So how do you man that ship? How do you assemble that offensive team with that understanding? I think there's probably not a ton of guys that would want to take part in that opportunity. Like, if I'm trying to necessarily jump and further my career, if I'm trying to become a play caller on my own, or maybe even a head coach or whatever, probably not the most ideal scenario is to go work under a coach that calls plays, go work under a head coach that calls plays, because everybody's going to be thinking, is it really Derrick Nix? How much does Derrick Nix actually do? Because we know Hugh Freeze is calling the plays. Can we take that chance on him? So look, there's no secret there. But the staff underneath a guy that's the head coach that calls plays is so incredibly important, because of all the hats that Hugh Freeze has to wear. All of the things that not just Hugh Freeze, any head coach has to wear. All of the tasks, all of the duties, all of the responsibilities. You have to have a good staff underneath you, to the point where sometimes you may not even be there. Like, there's other coaching things that you have to be doing, and these guys you have to be able to trust these guys to handle things. Now, look, I know there was a lot of offensive headaches last year. Don't get me wrong. There were some times where there were some head scratching things. There were some times where it's like, dadgummit, why would we do that? Why does this keep happening? I get it. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, last year you had You scored more points per game. You had more yards per game. Believe it or not, Peyton Thorne was vastly more efficient in this system. Quarterback efficiency went way up, even with the turnovers, and explosive plays were just it was night and day. Okay, so there's something there. There is something there that can be built upon. And on top of that, you're playing with you're depending on a lot of young receivers, and then B, bringing in a lot of portal guys it's 1 year and go. And then I think, look, say what you want, but I still think there were things. Peyton Thorne played well last year at times, but I do think you're limited a little bit there at quarterback. So again, I understand there was issues, but there was a big improvement from if you just look at if you don't look at the results of the wins and losses and you just look at the results of the offensive statistics that matter, Auburn got better on offense last year. So you're keeping that whole thing together, and you're moving forward another year with some of the younger guys in another year learning the system. How many times do we hear, someone running the wrong route? How many times did you hear a wide receiver admit that they ran the wrong route? You got to think that another year in the system, another year learning the same terminology and everything, that's going to help. That could help. Now, yes, you were breaking in a new quarterback, so it's hard to know if quarterback consistency can get better. But you're hoping that with the tools and the experience that Jackson Arnold has, running an RPO system, there's some similarities between what Jeff Lebby does and what Hugh does. And I think that is something that could be beneficial because Jackson Arnold was a Jeff Lebby guy. So there could be it's hard to know if quarterback play is going to get more consistent, but unless you're just basically depending on Jackson Arnold to be a better quarterback than Peyton Thorne. But think about, again, I just talked about the receivers, like young playmakers. Malcolm Simmons, and I'm sure his head was swirling. Perry Thompson coming in the summer, I'm sure his head was swirling. Everything that's going on. Now you just have a whole spring, a whole summer, and a whole fall camp to kind of get ready for the season, learning the exact same thing you learned the year prior. I just gotta feel like offensive line too, man. You're bringing back a bunch of the same offensive linemen, and you gotta feel like with everybody on the same page and not having to scrap it all and learn something new. You got to feel like it could be of huge benefit towards the offense moving in 2025. So you got continuity on offense, you got continuity on defense. Hopefully it leads to just continued success on both sides of the ball. On offense, you just need to see it. I feel like you just need to see the results consummate in more points on the board. Still, you did increase a little bit, but especially in conference games, you got to get better in conference, and hopefully one more year with everybody on the same page helps. I think there's another aspect of the offense that, communication seems spotty a little bit at times. And I think that just comes with, learning how to do all this stuff together. Derrick Nix is very familiar with Hugh Freeze, but man, it's been a while since they coached together. So you got to think that, hey, we can point to the pain points that we had last year where there was some communication gaps, whether we're talking about the 4th and 2 at Georgia, who made the decision to add in the option to read it, and did it get back to the primary play caller? Little things like that, you feel like you've got stuff that you can point to fix, versus if you bring in somebody else as offensive coordinator and Hugh's still running, calling plays on Saturday. How do you know what to fix? Because you don't know what type of person you have. You don't know what type of communication skills that they have. You're sort of learning each other. now you just kind of get to go point to the stuff that you messed up on, point to the stuff that can be fixed and fix it. I dig it. I mean, we can talk about some historical successes. Obviously, Kirby Smart, the tenure that he had at Alabama as defensive coordinator, they were dominant. I mean, he was there for 7 years. Continuity matters. Brent Venables, all of their success, it seems like, happened while he was there as a defensive coordinator. They've sort of struggled since. Continuity matters. You look at Georgia when they went back-to-back national champions. They're in their third year with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. Continuity matters, and you can. I know that Alabama has had some. It seems like Alabama was able to maintain success under Nick Saban with a lot of influx of new coaches, but by and large, I think anytime you can talk to a head coach, they would tell you if you can keep a coach for an extended period of time, if you can keep coordinators for an extended period of time, you feel like your likelihood of success is exponentially higher. I mean, it's just common sense. The more you rotate, the more you have to change, the harder it is to maintain, the harder it is to kind of keep going. So Auburn's finally keeping their coordinators. After 7 seasons, you're getting to keep both coordinators. I think that's huge. Really hoping that you see, smoother execution, improved efficiency. You got to think about all those mental mistakes. You should be able to limit a lot of those, and hopefully better results. I think ultimately that's what we all want. We want better results, and being able to. I think this could be a big springboard to seeing those. Being able to keep some of the same coaches. There's been a lot of, I know we do this every year where we feel like this year is the year. This year is the year. We're going to be good this year. This is the year we're going to win 10 games. I'm not going to talk about that this year. We're not going to talk about, hey, this team could win this X amount of games. This team's going to be good. I just think what you have to do as a program is you got to get to where you're moving forward. You're developing. You're starting to see results on the field. And I will say this about 2025. The tools are in place, and the retention aspect of it leads me to believe that they see that the tools are in place. They see that the pieces are in place. That they could have a little bit of a turn, and hopefully it's a bigger than just little turn into the positive direction as far as, results on the field in 2025. So I like the direction things are going. It's huge to keep coaches, and we get to keep these 2 coordinators for at least 1 more year. So hopefully, DJ's extended for 2 years. I would love to keep him here as long as we possibly can, make him the highest paid coordinator in college football. Doesn't matter. He's invaluable to this team. He's invaluable to recruiting. He's invaluable to really everything that goes on that defensive side. And then obviously Derrick Nix, just having somebody in that role that doesn't mind not being known as the primary play caller, that can still recruit, that can still sort of, build that communication between he and the head coach. I think that's also very, very important, and being able to do that and correct your mistakes from the year prior, I think that's also invaluable. So we'll see how it ends up on the field. But since 2018, Auburn finally keeps their 2 coordinators. I think it's going to be a big bonus. Let me know what you think. Am I overinflating the importance of continuity? What are your thoughts on continuity? Does it matter anymore in today's era? Does it matter anymore with as much things that are changing with everyone? I think it does, and we'll see if it actually matters. So, guys, thanks for listening. If you like this video, like it. If you like this channel, subscribe to it. We'll be back again every single day this week. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.